Government has finally confirmed that Steve Horsford is no longer the director of the CBI program. Horsford had occupied the position since 2013 when the program resumed under the present government. Confirmation of his status with the program follows queries by our newsroom last week and further by the National Democratic Congress on Monday. Minister Delma Thomas, during Tuesday's media brief, said the decision to sever ties with Horsford was a recommendation by the CBI committee.
There is a committee a Citizen by Investment Committee, and I would want to inform the media and the general public who are members of the committee. This committee is chaired by Mrs. Keisha Innes, Mr. Ronald Tiado of the GIDC is a member, Mr. Ruel Edwards of the Marketing and National Importing Board, Mr. Brina Gibbs, who is an attorney at law, Ms. Ophelia Wells Cornwall, PS or Deputy PS in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Rupert Agostini, accountant, and Dr. Wayne Sandyford. They are members of the CBI committee. And that committee would have made a recommendation to Cabinet as it relates to terminating the status of Mr. Horsford, and Cabinet accepted their recommendation. And this speaks to the credibility of this government, because everyone knows that Mr. Horsford is the husband of one of our ministers. And the Cabinet could have decided against the committee's advice and decided we're going to continue with Mr. Horsford. But based on their recommendation, Cabinet has accepted their recommendation.
As to why he is no longer CBI director and who is now occupying that role was also discussed. When we hear of the CBI program, we hear of transparency of the program. 2 months ago, I think it was, we heard that Mr. Horsford was being investigated by the FIU for financial impropriety. Now, I'm sure when the committee made that recommendation or recommendations, they would have given you an idea as to why.
Because I do not have the information you have. So you have information that I do not have and was never presented to Cabinet. So the information you have that FIU was investigating him, Cabinet is not privy to that information. We do not have that. So you got it from some opposition source, I guess?
No, I did not. But what you're saying to me is that the committee, they simply came to Cabinet and said, we're recommending that we have a different director.
And the truth is, they would have given the rationale for their recommendation, but I'm not in a position to give you that. Maybe you can ask the substantive ministry and minister if you want any more details. But what I can say to you, that Cabinet was, a recommendation came to Cabinet, and we approve that recommendation.
Okay, so Mr. Horsford has been replaced by whom? Is there a...
Well, I know Ms. Sybil Alexander was there, and maybe still is. Yes.
As acting director or director?
Not, I don't think
she's not. So who is?
Well, that's what they said. The committee, they're still there, and they will.
Okay, so I'm just learning that Ms. Alexander is no longer there, and the committee is there working, and a new recommendation will be given shortly.
Minister Thomas says the move speaks to the credibility of the program, given the fact that Horsford is the husband of a government minister. Eugenia Peters, GBN News.